Like the way Democrats act right now, they have no responsibility to provide a counter narrative of America other than we're gonna go back to pre-Trump. And the Republican Party is never made to be put on defense because Democrats don't feel the necessity to provide that counter narrative. Zohran Mandani was on Aaron Burnett on CNN. Apparently, they're talking about capitalism, and Zohran says on national television he does not like capitalism. So we're going to see how that went.
New York Mayor Eric Adams formally announcing tonight that he's going to go head-to-head with the Democrats' new rising star, Zohran Mandani, as an independent candidate in the mayor's race.
By the way, anyone watching, I'm a progressive liberal, a liberal progressive. I'm not a socialist or a leftist, but I do want to support Zohran as the Democratic nominee. I agree with a lot of what he says. He's a little bit too far left for me, but just wanted to make sure everyone who's watching knows my ideology.
In the biggest city in America.
Now
we're going to speak to Mamdani live.
I hate labels. Labels are
stupid. First,
stupid.
take a listen to Mayor Adams' attacks right out of the gate today.
This election is a choice between a candidate with a blue collar and one with a silver spoon. A choice between dirty fingernails and manicured nails. This is not a
what, dude? What's going on?
Idealism to state you're giving everything to everyone for free. There's no.
Isn't this the guy that was paid off by a foreign government, dude? He's paid off by a foreign government for luxury vacations, abusing the position he's in, is stealing from taxpayers.
You use idealism to state you're giving everything to everyone for free. There's no dignity in someone giving you everything for free. There's dignity in giving you a job so you can provide for your family and the opportunities that you deserve. So this is not a city of handouts. This is a city of hands up.
Adams taking direct aim at the core of Mamdani's campaign. Mamdani has made economics
Republicans are going to give Adams a lot of money, for Adams, and Democrats are going to support Adams as well.
Free child care for children under 5, and city-run grocery stores.
The child care thing is so based,
Adams'
by the way.
news comes as our Isaac Dover is just reporting that former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who of course was crushed in that primary, who conceded it to Mamdani, will not drop out of the race before tomorrow's deadline. So now this raises crucial questions about whether he will also be running in the general election as an independent. But Mamdani's likely and seismic win over Cuomo in the primary is generating national headlines about him being a new political star, creating a movement.
Does anyone know in New York City, really quick, in New York City, no phone calls right now. Wait until I'm done watching this now. Does anyone know if New York City, if the actual general election for mayor is ranked choice as well? Or was ranked choice just a Democratic primary thing? Does anyone know?
Magazine, they write the Democratic Party establishment should follow Zohran Mandani's example. Out front.
Because if it's a regular system of voting of voting, then if it's just like a majority wins, then Cuomo and Adams would split the vote. But if it's ranked choice for the general, that'd be really bad for Mamdani.
They write the Democratic Party establishment should follow Zohran Mandani's example. Out front now, New York State Assemblyman and presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, Zohran Mandani. And so much appreciate your time. A whirlwind week for you. I think to put it lightly. Okay, so, everyone else is putting their view on this, of what this means, okay? Your victory. What do you think it means?
I think it means that we are ready in the most expensive city in the United States to have 5 boroughs that New Yorkers can actually afford. And this entire race was about the question of affordability. And ultimately, I have run a campaign that speaks about the tools that city government actually has to deliver that affordability in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the world. And it's time that we have a mayoral administration that follows through and actually delivers that.
All right, so I want to talk about some of that, but first the breaking news. Isaac Dover is reporting that Andrew Cuomo is not dropping out of the general election race, right? And it's kind of a willery-woney, but the deadline's tomorrow. Is this a surprise to you?
Ultimately, Andrew's decision or my decision matters less than the decision that voters already took on Tuesday night, where we won from Bay Ridge to Diker Heights to Harlem to Washington Heights. We saw a mandate delivered for a new generation of leadership. And I am so proud and excited to continue to build on that mandate with an ever-expanding coalition, one that has now included the endorsements of Congressman Jerry Nadler, of State Senator Brad Lemon Siegel, and Manhattan Borough President, soon to be Controller.
Getting really
Mark Levine. And
getting really big endorsements from inside the party legitimizes his candidacy. So he needs as many of those as possible. And that's why it's a big deal that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Governor Hochul from New York, they did not give him an outright endorsement, because if they don't fully endorse him, his legitimacy wanes a little bit.
And ultimately, that is a coalition that will continue.
But yeah, the New York ranked choice, it's only for the primary, right? And then general election is a regular voting.
To expand through November.
Right. So you're saying no matter what, I mean, if Andrew Cuomo's in, it's not like a redo where you're worried?
No, not at all. I mean, we did it once and it turned out pretty well.
All right. So now can we talk about the policy? The policy is what stood out to a lot of people. But right, I said the freezing rents on half of the apartments, free bus service, the free childcare, and the city-run grocery stores. How do you pay for that?
Let's go through it. So for the first thing, freezing the rent, that's not something that requires any fiscal output from the city. It's something that's determined by the Rent Guidelines Board, composed of 9 members. The mayor picks each of those members. They determine each year whether rents rise or whether they stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times. So this has clear historical precedent. When it comes to city-run grocery...
Even Adams. You're saying Adams.
No, this is prior
to
Adams. Okay. He's the current one who has raised it 9% on those same New Yorkers, pushing them out of their homes. City-run grocery stores, I proposed a pilot program of 1 store in each borough. These are 5 stores in total. The total cost of this is $60 million. This is less than half the cost of what the city is already set to spend on a subsidy program for corporate supermarkets that has no guarantee of cheaper prices.
Yeah, the subsidies on corporate markets, people don't think about how government supports private markets so much when they talk about like private or public enterprises cannot be had in grocery stores, for example. There is a lot of fiscal output when it comes to private markets already. I don't know how that'll work. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't work. It's not that big of a policy. But one big thing to talk about in New York City, whether it's a rent freeze or a big minimum wage, is expensive as shit to live there. All right. And you need workers who cannot make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So either you have a $30 minimum wage, or you freeze the rent or something, or you don't have any workers in a big city like that where it's so expensive to live. And there's no... it's really hard to have a policy that can fit guidelines that addresses this issue, where you have sanitation workers and you have a bunch of people that work jobs that are considered to be entry-level jobs or McDonald's or whatever it might be, and they cannot afford to live in the city, and you cannot have a functioning city. There is no functioning city without the working class. So how do you address that? You might think it's crazy if you're not from New York City, but with how much rent is there, if someone works in Manhattan, for example, as a sanitation worker, you might need to be need to be paid $25-$30, or you might need your rent frozen. I'm not saying it's the peak economic policy, but there comes a point in society where peak economic policy probably doesn't matter as much as human-centered policy in some regard.
Or collective bargaining agreements, or even accepting
So you're not looking at some like Soviet Union...
Oh my God, dude. I was just about to say, and she's giving him a good interview, by the way. This is a really good interview. This is really good. She's bringing up points that the audience is gonna say while watching this. So I mean, I'm happy with the way she's doing this so far.
Grocery stores on every corner, they're going to be run by
Soviet
the government.
Union.
No, what I'm looking at is how to solve the very clear twin crises of affordability when you go to the grocery store, and food deserts, which disproportionately impact Black and brown New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs.
He is such a good politician. I'm just gonna say it. He is generational. The way he slides on these questions, bro, it's like hearing a really good rapper go on like crazy beats and flow on all of them. Like, it's actually insane how he approaches every question with such. He's a generational talent. Oh my God!
Where I've heard
he just like floated off a Soviet Union grocery store question and made it sound normal. Like, holy crap, he's good.
From New Yorkers who say, "Why is it that I can find 6 fast food restaurants in a 5-block radius, but I can't find a place to buy groceries?"
But five boroughs, 5 grocery stores. But that can't be the goal.
Well, I mean, the idea
is the goal you want them on every. But in New York, things do go. There's a nail salon on every corner. There's a grocery store on almost every other corner.
I think ultimately I'm guided by outcomes. If this pilot succeeds in guaranteeing cheaper groceries,
it's a pilot program. Good point. It's a pilot, one for every borough. That's not going to be a big interference. You're going to see a pilot program to see if the concept works. You could try policies and be experimental and actually strive for a better world. Okay, so I might not be as far left as him, but we can still try this policy. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's not going to be a big dude. Oh, he's good. He's good.
Groceries, as I think it will be, then yes, it should scale up. If it doesn't succeed, then no, it shouldn't.
He's good.
Because what New Yorkers want.
He says if it succeeds, it should scale up. If it doesn't succeed, it shouldn't. Imagine if you heard, like, I'm not going to bring up any comparisons right now. I'm just saying. He just had humility right there. If my ideological policy solution does not work, we will not do it. If it does work, we will expand it. But if it does not work, we're going to end it if it does not work. Dude.
On our results. And then
He's
it comes
good.
to making buses free and universal childcare.
Right.
These are things that cost around $700 million and let's say about $5 or $6 billion. Significant amounts of money.
Huge amounts of money.
But have to be understood in the context of a $113 billion municipal budget, a $252 billion state budget. And we put forward a plan to pay for these and more to start Trump-proofing our city through two major revenue streams. Increasing the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, that raises $5 billion, and increasing income taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year by 2%. Both of these things, after they come to fruition, you're still paying less than you did before Trump.
Okay. On the city tax, though, and I know that takes effect with people right now, the top rate of people of 50,000 or more. So if you're going to be adding 2% to people at $1 million, that I just did the math, right? Well, but that's going to be an increase of 51% of what they pay now. I'm not saying cry for them. I'm saying if they leave, you're not going to get that money.
That tax increase is not nearly enough to get someone to flee New York City. The economic output of New York City, the reason people want to live there, anyone that feels that a tax increase of 2% on every dollar above $1 million and to match New Jersey's tax, if you think that's going to make rich people leave, that's a propaganda thing from slimy capitalists. But it's insane to think that would make people leave to go to freaking Texas, bro.
And when you increase someone's taxes by 51%, aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And ultimately, I'm guided.
What did she just say?
Aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're...
Wait. 50? What did...
51% of what they pay now. I'm not saying cry for them. I'm saying if they leave, you're not going to get that money. And when you increase someone's taxes by 51%...
Oh, no. She's stupid, too. I'm just kidding. It's okay to not know policy. But the fact she just said that is kind of crazy, dude. She gets paid millions of dollars to talk about politics on the news, bro.
Aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And
I'm sorry for pausing, but how can I be mad? How can I be mad at a voter for not knowing policy when she, multi-millionaire, lifelong success on CNN, does not know basic policy?
51%. Aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And ultimately, I'm guided by the facts. The Fiscal Policy Institute did an analysis of the top 1% of New Yorkers and found that they leave the city at 1/4 the rate of other income categories. And when they do leave, they leave to what are called high tax states, New Jersey, California. So what it then comes down to is, why are they leaving? Is it fiscal policy or is it actually quality of life?
Quality of life.
And I've heard that time and again from wealthier New Yorkers, from all New Yorkers.
So it's talk. They're going to go to
He's
Florida
so
and all.
good.
You talk.
In 2021,
It
when I
is
came to the
tough.
state assembly, we had the same fight to fund public schools, to raise taxes on
Yeah,
good.
bro, I'm going to go get wiped out by a hurricane every year. Yeah, I'm going to go get... what kind of dipshit is going to go leave New York City and leave the biggest economic hub in the world to go get wiped out by a hurricane every day? On what, Miami Beach? Or what, go to Austin and fry your ass off and your electricity grid doesn't even work because Texas is ran by a terrible governor, and a terrible government? Like, what are you... Like, dude...
Billionaires and corporations. We were told millionaires would flee.
Yep.
And we now have more millionaires.
Okay, so
True.
the New York Times is saying that Mayor Adams is trying to gather business leaders to support him, to say this is going to be bad. And Bill Ackman, billionaire hedge fund manager, of course you know of him, New Yorker, he said he agrees with you that the city's broken, okay, but he has a real problem with your economic policies. He said the ability for New York City to offer services for the poor and needy, let alone the average New Yorker, is entirely dependent on New York City being a business-friendly environment and a place where wealthy residents are willing to spend 183 days, the amount you need to be taxed, and assume
Bill
the
Ackman's having a
associated
pure
tax
panic
burden.
attack on
Unfortunately,
Twitter
both have already
every
started
second, by the
making
way.
arrangements for the exits. So you just think that isn't going to add up. And by the way, that corporate tax rate that you're talking about, that's a big increase.
That's matching.
Oh, dude, she's framing it again. That's a big increase. How disgusting,
That isn't
bro.
going to add up. And by the way, that corporate tax rate that you're talking about, that's a big increase.
That's matching 7.25% going to 11.5%. And the point of it is that if it works for our regional neighbor, why can't it work for us? And with Bill Ackman, this is someone who put $500,000 into Andrew Cuomo's super PAC, someone to whom clearly money is not an issue. And ultimately, even for him, life would get better. Because what I'm looking to use this money for is to make the quality of life across the city better.
Okay, so when people say
Man, I respect it. I respect game when I see it. I know game when I see it. Dude. Bro, he's one of them. Dude, he's one of them. He's one of them ones, bro. Dude.
Democratic socialist, right? And I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on, is dignity and taking on income inequality. And for too long, politicians have pretended that we're spectators to that crisis of affordability. We're actually actors. And we have the choice to exacerbate it, like Mayor Adams has done, or to respond to it and resolve it, like I'm planning to do.
Okay. So, for people who say that America was built on, and a lot of immigrants, and obviously you speak from an immigrant experience. I mean, you came as a young child, but you speak to a lot of people who came much more recently, that they come to America because they believe in capital.
Yeah, I'm not a socialist or a capitalist. I don't give a shit about your dumbass labels, okay? I don't care about the labels whatsoever. The labels are so freaking stupid at all. I care about what policies you want. I care about how you care about people. Your labels are just identifiers we use in society to have a very quick and concise way to see what your political positions are. But labels are reductive and stupid. I hate labels. I don't care about capitalism or socialism. I don't have a philosophy like that. I have a human-centered philosophy. I want to do the next best thing to help people.
Capitalism. They believe that
And
if
freedom.
they work hard
I'm
and
a
make a
real
lot of money,
libertarian,
that's
buddy.
part of the American dream. Do you think that's not part of the American dream?
I think
Oh, no. The distribution of wealth means if you work hard, you do get paid for your labor, buddy. All right, let's talk about the actual value of your labor and why the wealthy get so. If we're about hard work and having a good life, why do the people who work hard have the poorest conditions, and the people that never work, the people that never get their hands dirty, those people sit in penthouses watching us from above like we're small ants? Think about it, guys. Think about the revolution we can have if we all come together in the working class.
That they come to America because they believe in capitalism. They believe that if they work hard and make a lot of money, that's part of the American dream. Do you think that's not part of the American dream?
I think the dream at
That's me 10 minutes after watching Zohran Mandani talk. That's how I sound.
Money, that's part of the American dream. Do you think that's not part of the American dream?
I think the dream at its core is a dream for stability in one's life. And what you're saying, that you work hard enough and that you then reap the benefits, too many New Yorkers, and Americans for that matter, are working 8 hours and then still feeling like they haven't made enough money to keep living in the city they call home. And ultimately, what I'm focused on is making the city affordable for everyone, not to win an ideological argument, but to deliver on the mandate of this
So when Mayor
campaign.
Adams, you just heard him come out and he said, soup, silver spoon. He talked about manicured nails to refer to you,
You can
right?
see
You
him.
were, I was looking at him. You
You're not
can
looking that
show him
great
to
right
everybody. What do you say to him?
I understand what he's doing. He's trying to distract from his own record. His is a record where he raised.
I know the plebs, I know the simple individuals may not understand this, but if you know like rap, there's a certain thing about projection and delivery that makes someone's voice really impactful in a song. So like recently there's a Pusha T song with Clips and his brother, and like the projection of your voice and the way you stand on the track and the way you like use language and rhetoric as a tool to express your emotion and to tell a story and to set the narrative. Like there's something rappers do, and rappers can see other rappers doing it very skillfully, and there's something like public speakers do where there's a flow and a cadence. There's a cadence to it. It's so smooth. It's every word. You're getting the most out of it, the most impact out of every word, bro.
I understand what he's doing. He's trying to distract from his own record. His is a record where he raised rents on more than 2 million New Yorkers by 9%, and he's considering another 8% increase. His is a record of raising the water bill to the highest it's been in 13 years, supporting Con Edison when they wanted to increase New Yorkers' gas and electric bills by $65 a month. I would much rather talk about me than I would about his record if I was him. And so that's what he's going to be doing over the next few months. And we will continue to remind New Yorkers what's on the ballot. It's affordability.
I just want to play, because that's what this is, play more of Mamdani telling his story.
So to quote the words of a famous New Yorker, allow me to reintroduce myself. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. I was given my middle name Kwame by my father, who named me after the first prime minister of Ghana.
I moved to the city when I was 7. This is the city I fell in love with, the city where I got my citizenship.
He's been in the New York Assembly for 4 years, and before that, he was an aspiring rapper under the name Mr. Cardamom. Listen.
Bro, imagine being him right now, bro.
Once you do it, it's out there.
It's
It never
there.
comes back. It's there.
Didn't think it was going to be on CNN.
It's
but-
there.
She's
and
being
there
pretty
it
cool.
is.
She's pretty cool
so
right now.
What
She's
do
doing
you
pretty
say
cool.
to people who look at your background and they wonder? They say, okay, rising star you may be, but this is the largest city in America, $112 billion budget, 8 million
She seems
people,
good faith.
and a hell of a lot of problems. And
And
they
some,
say,
pretty
okay,
good
whatever the
faith.
future may be, you're not ready now.
I would say that a campaign offers a glimpse of what an administration would look like. And we built a campaign the likes of which the city has not seen in a long time. We started with 2 full-time employees and now are managing 50,000 volunteers. At the beginning of this race, there were questions of whether we'd get 50,000 votes. And yet we had
50,000 volunteers.
50,000 volunteers who knocked on 1.5 million doors, made 2.1 million phone calls. And ultimately, it's a story of not only being able to inspire people, but absorb that inspiration and build an organization. And I think that's also the story of what it means to run a city, that you are ultimately responsible, but you're also determined by hiring the best and the brightest. And that's what I will be doing in City Hall. I'll be hiring those that have a clear track record of excellence, of results, that come from a wide variety of mayoral administrations, and finally bring public excellence back into the public sector.
All right, so you caught
Okay,
a lot-
for the people in chat, like you have to imagine, like CNN, for CNN standards, she's being really good. Okay, for CNN standards, she could be much worse than she's doing right now. So I'm completely fine with her interview so
a lot
far.
of attention for confronting Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, about the deportation policies, which have a lot of impact here in New York. Here you are.
Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
Dude, the way Democrats are right now, about the Trump regime and him yelling, "Do you believe in the First Amendment?" Tom Homan, and how they're screaming, bro. Democrats are gonna.
So that moment went
Like
viral.
that,
All right,
I'm just
then
gonna say.
after the primary, Homan was asked about your plan, which is on your website. You said that you would end the city's cooperation with ICE agents that has been going on under Mayor Adams, and he has spoken out. Here's what he said.
Good luck with that. Federal law trumps him every day, every hour, every minute. We're going to be in New York City. Game on. We're coming.
Game on. He's coming. What do you say?
That I'm going to be here to stand up and fight back. And unlike the current mayor, I'm not going to be working alongside the Trump administration to build the single largest deportation force in American history. I'm going to actually represent each and every New Yorker. And that includes immigrant New Yorkers. And that means standing up for the laws of this city, like our sanctuary city policies, which have kept New Yorkers safe for decades and were defended by Republicans and Democrats alike for years until we got this mayor who fear-mongered about them so extensively.
Does that involve the NYPD?
It means that the NYPD would actually serve New Yorkers and not assist ICE in their operations. We recently saw ICE agents
So they would not
arrest-
assist ICE.
Not assisting ICE, because ultimately their job is public safety. And I know officers who are signing up to take on serious crimes, not to be a part of the force that is arresting a pastor who's peacefully observing the arrest of a migrant at Federal Plaza.
All right, so a moment ago, you talked about how you didn't know if you'd get 50,000 votes, and you ended up with 50,000 volunteers. They knocked on doors. There are many in the country who might look at that and say, okay, that makes me think of somebody else who took on I'm trying to think of the right word to use, but somebody who expected to win and therefore didn't campaign that hard and lost. And the person who did that was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? Famously also here in New York. She endorsed you early. She helped you. She just spoke to Manu Raju, our Manu Raju, a few moments ago. She said the Democratic Party needs to pay attention to your success right now. Here's what she just told him.
We have a choice to listen to that message that people are sending us or not. This isn't just about Mr. Mamdani as an individual. This is about the message that the people of New York City are trying to send to our party.
So there's now talk, that your victory puts her in a whole new light, right? It puts her and Bernie Sanders, not that they were seen as fringe, but they were seen as a wing of the party. And that instead of being a wing, that becomes more of the center, and that you are part of that. Do you see it that way? And do you see those who say, look, your victory propels her to a presidential run in 2028?
She's been an inspiration, and it's been an honor to be represented by her as an assembly member in Astoria for many years. And I think about a senior who works at a child care center that I met in Sunnyside, Queens, who told me that I'm not a progressive, but I realized when I looked at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, they were the only ones who were willing to fight for me.
Yeah.
And that's what so many New Yorkers and Americans understand, is that these are the two individuals who have been willing to take on this oligarchy and actually stand up for dignity for Americans.
Before you go, one last thing. Bill Ackman, I just mentioned him as right, he's the billionaire hedge fund manager, but he's not alone. There are a lot like him, whether it's Ken Griffin or CEOs of big banks. Would you meet with them?
I'll meet with anyone. I will meet with them and I'll explain why I believe in the necessity of raising the top corporate tax rate. And I'll also tell Bill Ackman that I firmly disagree with his attempt to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country, because it's not only against the morals of so many, it's also against the actual bottom line for so many businesses. And as a businessman, he should understand that.
All right.
Oh, as a businessman, he should understand that, dude. Bro, and then he smiles like that. And then he just smiles like that and ends the interview. Bro, he's cold. He's cold. He's got that thing. He's got that thing you need. That's kind of crazy, bro. And confidently standing up for positions. And by the way, you can be a liberal or a leftist or a socialist or a centrist or whatever and advocate for policies in an aggressive way and advocate for values in an aggressive way. It just so happens that progressives and democratic socialists are the only people who are willing to do it right now. They are the only people willing to fight, you know? And we need this. We need this rhetoric and this counter narrative, and he is really freaking good. When it comes to counter messaging and counter propaganda, and the pure hatred and Islamophobia and all the crazy, because Republicans cannot help themselves from being extremely racist publicly. They projectile vomit racism all over the place. It's going to bring out the worst in them and show the best of us. And really, I want them to play defense a little bit. I want them to actually advocate, like the way Democrats act right now. They have no responsibility to provide a counter narrative of America other than we're gonna go back to pre-Trump. And the Republican Party is never made to be put on defense because Democrats don't feel the necessity to provide that counter narrative. And I really want to see the Trump regime play defense against an actual populist candidate who actually gets people motivated to get out and vote and who actually activates young people. Oh, crazy times we live in, bro.